Hey guys, it's Matt. Now that I've calmed down a bit from what I learned yesterday, I just want to address a few things that came in from some commenters in the calmest way I can. I don't understand some of the comments. Most comments, of course, are very, very good, and we have a pretty good forum here, no doubt about it. Now, look, uh, it's pretty clear to anybody that's paid attention, even if you're just 35 years of old, you're 35 years or a little bit older. You weren't born during any of this JFK stuff, but it's pretty clear that the Warren Commission and the official story across the board was that Oswald acted alone. Okay, uh, this has been the official story. I immediately called Greg, at Exploring the Rabbit Hole. We just were basically shaking our heads, going, he didn't understand what I came across, and I didn't understand it either. But it starts with the official story was that Oswald acted alone. Oh, but by the way, please, you know what I really think about the JFK assassination. Uh, that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is a very, very bizarre reality change in what they're presenting to us as history. Okay, what happened or didn't happen, it's not the point of this video. I knew I'd get a lot of comments. It was a hoax and all this. How long have you been with this channel? I mean, I know all that. We've explored all that, but that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is what the official story is. Okay, Warren Commission, Oswald acted alone. If somebody comes along and shows me that there was a white paper written up by the Warren Commission that they are will always entertain that there may have been another shooter, you know, it's a reality change for me. I don't believe it. I don't buy it, or it's an insertion. It's a massaging of history. So to me, that's crystal clear. That's crystal clear to anybody that's followed this. Warren Commission, Oswald did it. That's why it was just so ridiculous. Case closed. Ruby shot him. There's okay. If there was, let's just look at to all the people that made certain comments. Let's just look at the facts, and hopefully I can bring everybody. Usually I say I'm not trying to direct people's thoughts. That's not. But in this case, I kind of am, because I'm not sure people are thinking about this clearly. Um, if there was a possibility, per the Warren Commission, that there was potentially another shooter, where was the manhunt to find the other shooter? Look, I don't think this history escapes me. There was no search, manhunt, investigation, FBI investigations. They did after 9/11, they did a Bin Laden team. Remember, all the agencies had a Bin Laden team, and to get him. And none of this happened. Did they leave it to OJ? Did they leave it up to OJ? Yeah, OJ was going to get the other shooter. So the Warren Commission's clear. Okay. So then in 1975, if I get that date right, there's not some little panel somewhere at the Atlantic magazine. The official investigation from the United States House of Representatives on assassinations, where they primarily looked at Martin Luther King Jr. and JFK. And what I showed in the last video clearly says that their findings of 1975 or 1976, there was probably another shooter. Okay, well then I ask some of the commenters that weren't quite getting what I was saying, where are maybe somebody can show me these headlines. I don't think they exist, but don't you see how gigantic that news would have been? It would have been the cover or front page of every newspaper. For anybody under age 35, newspapers were gigantic back in the 70s and the 80s. You had your world news at night, but that's all you had. There wasn't any cable news 24. You looked to a newspaper. Those things existed where you put your quarter in, you lift it up, and people would actually they were almost on the street even through the 70s, or newsstands, little wooden stand selling magazines and newspapers. It would have been the cover. Extra, extra. U.S. House of Representatives Commission finds the probability of another shooter. So, if this history is not a history game that they're playing, then I don't have time to do this. I don't know how to do this, but there's tools to go back and look at the front page of newspapers for every day. Right about those 2 or 3 days, it would be on the front cover of every one. San Francisco Chronicle, New York Times, Philadelphia Inquirer, Philadelphia Bulletin at the time, Chicago Sun-Times, every one. It would be huge news, and then they would have reopened an investigation, or the FBI would have assigned a team to, well, who was the fourth shooter? Let's investigate. Where's all the investigation? I mean, did I miss it? So that's that. The second part is a few commenters saying, basically like the way I interpret it, well, Matt, we've been talking about the possibility of other shooters for years. Yeah, we have. The crazies that run in these circles, the conspiracy theorists have, yeah. But not the official story has not been talking about the possibility of other shooters. Never. From everything I've ever paid attention to. So, yeah, but in our circles, yes, not in their official circles. Could anybody ever come up with a 2020 magazine art, on the TV, or a 60 Minutes, or a presentation by Peter Jennings in '85 or Dan Rather in '88, or just any news story where they're investigating who the other shooter was? If the 76 committee said there was likely another shooter, where's all that? So that's that. Now, the people that, I hope you were kidding, the people that left me links about the world's fastest shooter. I got at least 4, if not 5 links. The world's fastest shooter, was that really to imply that Hinckley could have gotten off 6 shots in a revolver in 1.7 seconds? I hope it was a joke. Showing me the world's best at something, who has also reconfigured his gun with a hair trigger and modified the gun so it can fire as quickly as humanly possible so he can get off his whatever shots. How does that... Were you really trying to say that Hinckley could do it because the world's best could do it? What if Hinckley... There was a story of Hinckley I read in Wikipedia, and I didn't, but let's say I went... history changes before our very eyes, whether you call it a Mandela effect or the powers that be simply insert new history. The mud flood people, though not talking about Mandela effect, most of them, they're talking about a cover-up of history. And when you cover up history, there has to be a reinsertion of a whole new history. So call it whatever you want. The phenomenon or the effect on us is kind of the same. So what if the official story in Wikipedia says, and I'm making this up, we know Hinckley didn't run, but let's say he ran away for 2 blocks before they got him. And the official story said he ran at the pace whatever miles per hour, and that converted into a 10.2 100 meters. Hinckley ran at a 10.2 100. And I say on my video then, well, that's ridiculous. That's total bullshit. Is somebody going to pull up a video of Usain Bolt, the Jamaican athlete from the Olympics, and show me because he did it, he could run a 10.0 flat, that Hinckley could likely do it? I mean, what if Hinckley, to get away, he shot a grappling hook out of his coat sleeve, and then he rappelled up? Is somebody going to send me a link of Batman doing it? And because Batman can do it, or they can do it on a Hollywood set, Hinckley can do it? What? People showing me the world's fastest shooter? I hope. Look, if you guys were doing it as a joke, I just didn't take it that way. I took it like, oh, well, it can be done. What? Hinckley, he's supposed to be some half... again, I don't. It's possible the whole story's fake. Of course, how long you been with this channel? I don't even want to say probable. I don't because I don't want to get into that in this video. That's not the point. I don't want to turn off a few people that just came across this and just went, "Oh, this guy's he sounded okay, but he's nuts." So I'm just going to turn it off. That's why I don't like to go down all these channels. Sometimes I stick to the official story because I don't if we're talking about this and I don't believe the official story over here, I'm still going to talk about the official story because that's not the purpose of this. So, the moment I stray back to the official story in order to accomplish a goal over here, I have people pointing out to me, I know, I know, I'm aware of all this. Who are you talking to here? I have a history in this. So, Hinckley's this, he's supposed to be, he just coveting Jodie Foster. He's some crazy man. He looks to be out of shape, overweight, just some nut. No, he's not one of the world's best shooters that has remodified his revolver so it with a hair trigger. So no normal person, let alone some crazy guy that's supposed to be, lathering himself up in his own feces, could get off 1.6 shots in 1.7 seconds. It's not possible. Period. End of story. If you show me an article where, unbeknownst to me, Hinckley's father was in the Wild Bill Cody show, or his grandfather was, and his father or grandfather or great grandfather was in the Annie Oakley show, and those skills, those tremendous six-gun shills of the Old West were passed down to little John Hinckley Jr. as a kid, well, I might believe it. I might believe it. But I don't think there's that history. I don't think his grandparents were in the Wild Bill Hickok show. So no, he can't squeeze off 6 rounds in 1.7 seconds. The gun without a modification may not even be capable of that. If it's a double action, the hammer has to completely go back and forward versus a single action. Or a double action in a semi-automatic, the hammer then boom, it stays back, it's ready to go. Hair trigger, hair trigger, hair trigger. It's a revolver. So I didn't get too many of those comments, but that did absolutely floor me. So, guys, the big one is this. If any government agency at any time came forth and said, yeah, it's likely there was a second shooter, everybody in the country would have gone, holy crap, new news, extra, extra, read all about it. And even somebody that can show me what to me would be a complete reality breakdown, that the Warren Commission always entertained there could be a second shooter, or likely was a second shooter, which I don't buy that. I just don't buy that. That would be a complete reality history breakdown for me, like a Mandela effect, if somebody could show that to me. But even if somebody could show that to me, I would say, well, where's the investigation? It would never. There's cold cases in Biloxi, Mississippi. 30 years later, they get DNA off a hot dog wrapper. You've heard these stories, and they go arrest somebody. Cold cases. Oh, you think JFK, if a president was murdered, do you think that would ever become a cold case in the FBI? Where's the investigation? Where's all the articles of what they are doing to find this potential or probable second shooter? Well, if that doesn't exist, then this is a completely reinsertion of some kind of a new history, for whatever reason. Some people will call it a Mandela effect. Others will say it's just the powers that be effing with us again. Greg and I talked about a normalization of some of the things we've talked about that they've said where we've put them out. They've called us crazy. And I will talk about the root of the origin of conspiracy theory. I forgot that. They've called us crazy for putting certain things out. But then when they look like they're about to become true, then they seem to normalize it. So for years, if the conspiracy theorists in their circles screamed, there had to have been a second shooter. Here's all this DVD set I just went through. Somebody handed me this DVD set in a red case. It's multiple DVDs about all the potential possibilities with Kennedy and all the interviews. And somebody saw somebody up by the railroad tracks above the grassy knoll. And somebody saw this photograph, and they zoom in, it's Badge Man taking a shot on the grassy knoll. And all these different theories. Yeah, we've all talked about that in our own circles. But if there was a possibility of another shooter, then where's the official investigations on all those possibilities? Where's that? They just assumed, oh, he was so good, we'll never find him. We're not going to investigate. We're not going to. It would be just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stories. Once an official agency of the United States government said there was another shooter, there'd be hundreds of press conferences, stories. Well, what have you found? Like the Bin Laden thing. I know it was a charade. Like I didn't just fall off the turnip truck. But again, it's so a shame that when I say like the Bin Laden thing, I have to then clarify my position that I know certain things or don't know certain things, or people will be like, "You think Bin Laden was real?" I don't know. Not everybody has a history with this channel. You're always gonna have new people. I believe this guy, but he just made a comment. He thinks Bin Laden is real. No, I was just making that comment because it's relevant to what I'm talking about. So there was all sorts of 60 minutes articles on TV and different things saying, well, what's the Bin Laden team? What have they done? What have they found out? What are they? So you would have the same thing if there was another shooter. You would have had a cold case that never goes away. Show me all those stories. Where's all that? And I don't mean all you. I mean, there's a few people that are like trying to tell me some stuff in the comments. But most of you guys are like, yeah, that's a reality breakdown. Makes no sense. They've always been crystal clear. It's always been Oswald and just Oswald. Always. The last thing was the whole point of what we've heard since we got into this conspiracy reality junkie racket. I don't know what you want to call it. It's a game of never-ending rabbit holes, never-ending breadcrumb. I won't say it. As soon as we started getting into this, we learned very quickly that the whole point of the word conspiracy theory, and it makes sense, was the CIA or whoever created it after Kennedy's assassination, and it was meant to belittle anybody that would question the official story. The whole point was, the official story was, we got our man, Oswald did it. The very day they got Oswald in the movie theater, one of the Dallas police officers or FBI, I've showed you the picture before, he comes through Dallas police holding up the rifle, and a mob of reporters, surround him, and he's just holding the rifle up. It's not protected in a certain wrap or a bag or a trash bag to protect DNA evidence or whatever they do. They still could dust for fingerprints back then. He's holding the rifle up. This is, we got our man. Here's our man, Oswald. Case shut. When Ruby killed Oswald, again, I have to have a sidebar conversation every time. I'm well aware how all of that is likely orchestrated. Here, let's return back to the regular conversation, because I always have to apologize for any time I even utter the official story. A Ruby then kills Oswald, and that's it. No reason to do anything. That was what happened in history. They didn't have to send OJ out to investigate who the other potential shooter was, because it wasn't on the table after the Warren Commission that there was another shooter. If it was on the table, that's a reality breakdown for me, and there would be hundreds and hundreds of follow-up articles saying, well, where's your investigation leading? There was another shooter. Where is he? Is it OJ? Yeah. So you see what I'm saying? It's like, what? So the whole point of conspiracy theorists was to belittle anybody that questioned the official story. The official story was so clear-cut, it was Oswald. If the official story wasn't clear-cut, and it was open for all sorts of different interpretations, like the 76 committee saying it opens everything up. It opens the floodgates up, the 76 committee. It's saying, well, acoustical records basically show excuse me. It's like a Euro Trip. You ever see that? Excuse me. It's a twisted movie, Euro Trip, but it's got some funny scenes. It says the acoustical analysis of what happened, likely there was another shooter, and all the other investigation that happened in the official committee in 1976 or 1975 says there's a possibility, or we can't rule out another shooter. That opens the floodgates to all potential possibilities. So when dickheads like me, conspiracy theorists, pop up and start saying, well, this happened. No, I think it was this. No, I think it was the Russians. No, I think it was Cuba. No, I think it was Badgeman. No, I think it was whatever. No, I think it was space aliens. Nobody could then belittle us. See, nobody then could say conspiracy theorist. You can only go conspiracy theorist jerk. You can only say that if the official story stands behind you. Look, everybody official behind me says it was Oswald. It's open and shut. You conspiracy jerk. You only can do that to somebody if the official story behind you is rock solid. If somebody would do that to me, you'd say, well, why are you getting on me for looking at other possibilities regarding Kennedy? The official analysis in '76 said was another shooter, and there's somebody on the loose, and of which that person would have an affiliation unknown. Because the affiliation of the potential other shooter would be unknown, then every possible scenario would be on the table. So how could anybody be called conspiracy theorist? I'm glad I was able to maybe not clarify this position, clarify my position. Thanks.